I'm Spencer Bailey. This is Time Sensitive. Hey everyone, welcome back to Time Sensitive. After a brief summer hiatus, we're now here with Season 10, which runs through December. It's hard to believe it's already been more than 5 years of Time Sensitive, and now 10 seasons. Thank you again for listening and for your continued support. And thank you too to L'École, School of Jewelry Arts, and Van Cleef & Arpels, whose ongoing support of Time Sensitive has helped make all of this possible. On today's episode, our 116th, I sit down in the studio with Rita Sodi, the chef and owner of the cult West Village restaurant I Sodi, which, even more than a decade and a half since opening, for good reason, remains one of the more delightful places to eat and most difficult reservations to get in New York City. Together with her life and work partner, Jody Williams, Rita runs the restaurant group Officina 1397, which, in addition to I Sodi, also operates Williams' bar, restaurant, and cafe, Bavette, the Trattoria, Via Carota, the Shaker-style tavern, the Commerce Inn, and Bar Pisellino. Collectively, this group of restaurants has, in its own humble way, through consistent, incredibly refined yet unfussy cooking and well-executed hospitality, proven the essential value of not only a neighborhood restaurant, but a neighborhood restaurant group. Over the past decade or so, these restaurants haven't just served the West Village, they've become definitive beacons within it. These are restaurants with intimate, home-style cooking and the kind of human touch that has become increasingly rare in today's restaurant industry. These are places that feel particularly personal and crafted, with every last detail thought through. In a bleak review about the current state of the restaurant industry, the food critic Pete Wells recently wrote about a series of changes, many of them fueled by Silicon Valley, that have, quote, gradually and steadily stripped the human touch and the human voice out of restaurants. Each of these changes was small, but together they made going out to eat much less personal. Meals are different now, and our sense of who we are is different too. Wells's words may come across as somewhat hyperbolic, but I think they're spot on, which is why restaurants like I Sodi, Via Carota, and the Commerce Inn matter now more than ever. To simply call one of these restaurants a canteen would be to oversimplify and understate it. These restaurants help keep the West Village, and to a certain extent New York City too, grounded and human. As you'll hear, it was a joy to spend time with Rita. We talk about everything from her circuitous journey from fashion to food, to learning Tuscan cooking from her mother, to how she maintains such a high level of consistency across all that she does. Before we get into the episode, I'd first like to thank our Season 10 presenting sponsor, L'École, School of Jewelry Arts, which is supported by the Maison Van Cleef & Arpels. With the mission of sharing the art and culture of jewelry with the general public, L'École's offerings range from courses on art history and introductory jewelry making and gemology, to public lectures and talks, from books and exhibitions to a new podcast called Voice of Jewels. To make their offerings even more accessible, L'École also hosts a series of free online talks, each of which brings together two experts on a given field for a 45-minute conversation, followed by a Q&A session. Held in either French or English, the conversations are translated live in Cantonese, Mandarin, and Japanese, and have covered topics including Marie Antoinette's jewels and the history of platinum. The next talk, to be held on September 30th, is titled Writing Jewels, Artistic Correspondences, and will feature the author, essayist, and emeritus professor of literature, Patrick Wald-Lasowski, alongside the gemologist and L'École lecturer, Charlene Coupeau, in a conversation about the relationship between jewelry and literature. You can learn more about L'École and its current and upcoming offerings at www.l'ecolevancleefarpels.com. That's www.LECOLEVANCLEEFARPELS.com. And now, here's my conversation with Rita. Hi, Rita. Welcome to Time Sensitive.
Hi, Spencer. Happy to be here.
So, we could go in a lot of different directions. Tuscany, the West Village. I really want to start with New York City because, and we will get to Tuscany a little bit later in the conversation, but in all the research I was doing to prepare for this, I realized I didn't know when you first came to New York, when you first set foot in New York. And I was wondering if you could talk about your earliest memory of New York and coming from Italy, what that was like, what you remember of it.
I came in New York to stay in New York 2008. I've been coming in New York for a long time, and I'm coming from fashion, so I was not in the restaurant business and everything. So I was coming in New York almost 2 times a month, something for a few days. Big city, pretty different than Florence, and a lot of going on, a lot of energy. One of the first time I came in New York was like, one day I will live here. That's was what I was thinking. I didn't know that actually will happen, but but that's I was thinking. Yeah, I opened I Sodi in 2008.
How would you describe your relationship with New York now that you live here, have been rooted here for the past almost 2 decades?
I feel like I'm a New Yorker. I still have a big accent, but who doesn't, right?
Well, I feel like once you hit the 10-year mark, at least that's what some people say. It's like if you're in New York for 10 years, then you can take the New Yorker status.
Okay, so I'm a New Yorker.
Before opening I Sodi in 2008, you worked in fashion, as you mentioned. You were notably, if I understand correctly, an executive in product development for Calvin Klein jeans.
Yeah, I was doing a little bit everything that around the product, production, fabric, and everything. And yeah. And
so that job brought you here. Was that the first time you came to the city, was working in fashion?
The first time I came in United States was San Francisco, long time ago. For a month, I came in San Francisco to learn English. It didn't happen. I didn't learn English. I just enjoyed myself and going around all California and everything. But and after I came to New York like other 2 times before to start in fashion, more or less. So not very, a lot.
Yeah, it was still sort of like an outsider thing until you were coming for work.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you become interested in the West Village in particular? Like, how did you choose the West Village as the home of this restaurant, I Sodi, when you opened it in 2008?
Because it's a village. It's a part of New York and it's a village. It's not Midtown. It doesn't look like even New York, right? But you are in New York. Actually, it's the New York.
It's kind of the closest thing to Tuscany in New York, maybe.
Maybe. You know everybody. You say hi to everybody. It's a good feeling.
Yeah. So it's been 16 years since you opened I Sodi, a decade since you and your life and work partner, Jody Williams, opened Via Carota together. Your restaurant group with Jody, Officina 1397, also operates Bar Pisellino, the Commerce Inn, and Bavette. Practically an entire block's worth of restaurants. And somehow it just seems like you couldn't have built this little empire, if I could call it that, anywhere other than the West Village. In your own humble way, Jody and you are kind of like helping preserve a certain close-knit vibe that easily could have been taken over by venture-funded Blank Street coffees. So I guess a long-winded way of asking, in your mind, what role has the West Village played in your operations from I Sodi to Via Carota to Bar Pisellino?
I think it's the focus of my life. I met Jody. So it's everything I can want from the West Village. It's like after a month, more or less, that I was open, I met Jody,
Right, she just like ran up on you, right? She sort of...
No, yeah, she had friends that would say, "Oh, you have to go to eat this place. The food is very good." Blah blah blah. And other friends they say, "Oh, you have to go in that place because you have to meet this woman and everything." And finally, she make it to I Sodi, and she introduced herself. And after she was coming to visit me when I was doing pasta in the morning, taking me strawberry from the market, asking stupid question. At that time, I didn't know she knew everything she was asking me already. And that's the beginning.
And she was in the process of getting Bavette going at that time, right?
Yeah. And it happened to be 1 block away.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. What do you make of that moment? I mean, it seems so profound, this catalytic connection point between these two lives intersecting in the way that they did when they did, because it's like you had just opened this sort of experiment. I mean, giant leap.
Yeah. Yeah, something very, very big, and I didn't know it was so big. It was a big surprise.
I do want to ask a little bit about the neighborhood restaurant element of what you do, because I feel like in a world that is so often fleeting feeling or things just seeming to pass and go by, what Jody and you have created is sort of this stronghold in a neighborhood. And I think particularly at this moment, this idea of the neighborhood restaurant really feels like a grounding place, somewhere to sort of, not just a town square, but something to ground you. Could you elaborate or sort of your take on that?
It's, I saw child become adults. It's true. They were coming with the mom and dad and everything, and then now they're coming by themselves, and they are drinking wine. And so, they're adult and they have their life, and I'm like, oh, okay, I feel grounded. I have this feeling, this sensation, and you leave this. Oh yeah, you're part of something there.
Yeah. How do you think about time more generally when it comes to the life of the restaurant? Because that must be pretty profound to see someone who's, say, I don't know, 5 or 6, and now they're 15, 16, or someone who was 10 who's now drinking age.
Yeah.
That's quite profound.
Yeah, it's a long way to arrive there. And, it was not really easy to see people growing up. It's been pretty hard. It's a pretty tough experience, and I grew a lot. I didn't know it was so hard, but I made it. And I met Jody, so even better. I feel proud. Yeah, I do, because I saw a lot, and one day I told Jody, I said, "Jody, my dream now is my nightmare." And she said, no, that cannot be. And after my dream became my dream. That's what I'm living now. I'm living my dream.
Mm. Well, I want to go back to the beginning of I Sodi, because for the listeners who might be slightly confused at this point, you left a 15-year career in fashion, just kind of picked it up and came to New York, never having run a restaurant before or been a professional chef. You're a self-taught chef. Find this place on Christopher Street and open it. How did you come to that decision? Tell me what went through your mind from being like, okay, I'm done with fashion. What's next?
I grew up with food, as an Italian family at that time and everything. I grew up with food. Fashion took me travel a lot, and I have a lot of food experience and any kind of cuisine from Asia, Europe, everywhere. And more than I was eating out and different, experience, and more I was missing what I call my food. And so when I arrive at a certain point, I say, okay, let me make my food for other people. And I say, New York, I think it's the right place where people can have my food and understand my food. So that's what I did. I opened I Sodi in Christopher Street. At that time was quite wild.
What was it like in the weeks or days in the lead up to it? Could you talk about that process of literally building a restaurant?
Oh, I was very excited. I was so excited, so naive, because I didn't know what was waiting for me. I didn't know anything. And I didn't know where to buy stuff. I didn't know where to do anything to run a restaurant. And I learned on my mistake. I learned everything on my mistake. And every day I was stronger and stronger and stronger. And they're calling me if there is a pasta cooker is not turning on. So I got somewhere, right?
Exactly. Well, I read in just weeks after opening, your chef quit. That must have also been...
It didn't... Yeah, let's put it that way. Yeah.
It wasn't smooth sailing out the gate. And this was also 2008, the middle of the Great Recession, the year of the Lehman Brothers collapse. Not an easy time to open a business, let alone a restaurant.
Yeah, that was a big, big year. Very, very stressful year. Very, very stressful. My mother came to visit me, and for her was the first time in New York, or out of Europe, actually. She stayed 1 week, and we cooked together. She was coming in the morning, around 10. We were cooking, making pasta, cooking. And I was like, what do you think? Oh, you decide. I feel like I'm doing your food. And no, she was completely, she was like helping me take everything I was doing, like for her was the first time to do and be supportive. And so I was like, Mama, why you stay here? Go around. And she say, this city is too big for me. I prefer stay here. So she came here. She stayed for a week. She never left Christopher Street. Yeah, that was a big moment. Having her for 1 week and everything, and she was approving everything I was doing and tasting the food and love it and everything. So it made me stronger, the fact that she approved my food. If she approved my food, it's a good thing, right?
Yeah, well, I think we should say here that your mom wasn't just the person cooking for you growing up. You were basically her sous chef. You were learning her recipes. You were by her side in the kitchen.
Yeah, I was, yeah. And when I decided to open I Sodi and all of this, I was like, when we have dinner together, I was sitting down, glass of wine, talk about the food, talk about how she made stuff, taking notes. It was beautiful time to spend with my mother, because I ate her food. I was her sous chef, but I never really talked about the food. So I had this moment that I was able to talk about her food, and I was like, how why you're doing this, or why you're doing... And she's like, oh, I went to the shop the other day, and there was this woman, and she told me, I'm doing this and this. And I say, oh, okay, how you doing? And I say, okay, I'm going to try. Once in a while, she had these new dishes. Then they were coming from the neighborhood. Then she was coming from another city or another region and everything, and talking when they were buying food. And she was making this new stuff. And this is amazing. I think this is great. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, you leave Tuscany in a way, but it doesn't leave you. It's in your kitchen.
Yeah, it is. The smell, everything.
Hey everyone, taking a quick break here to tell you a little bit about our Season 10 presenting sponsor, L'École School of Jewelry Arts, which is supported by the Maison Van Cleef and Arpels. Since establishing its first 4 campuses in Paris, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Dubai, L'École recently opened its second Paris campus at Hôtel de Mercy Argenteau, an 18th century mansion on the city's Grand Boulevard. Registered as a historic monument, the site features a spacious exhibition hall, a library, and a bookstore dedicated entirely to the jewelry arts. The site's inaugural exhibition, On the Stage Jewels of the French National Theatre Comédie Française, is on view through October 13th. You can learn more about L'École and its new Paris campus at www.l'ecolevancleefarpels.com. That's www.l'ecolevancleefarpels.com. And now, back to the episode. When you're in the kitchen, particularly at I Sodi, could you talk a little bit about what your relationship to time is like when you enter the kitchen? Like, how does time pass for you? Is it meditative? Is it fast and focused? Your cooking, which you sort of described already, it's very much rooted in your mother's cooking. It's this traditional Tuscan, rigorous, I would say, methodical almost. Plain spoken and almost stern is how Pete Wells has put it. And I think it's also, I would say, unfussy. It's focused. So what is the relationship, I guess, to time? How do you think when you're in the kitchen?
I think to cook, to make food, to make great food, smell food, look at, be alive, become alive in my pan or in my pot and the smell, and you can tell when it's coming, right? It's like everybody's like, oh, how long do you keep your onion on the fire before you smell it? You don't need to have time. You smell, you see, and everything. That food's talking to you. It's not just there. It's talking to you. Everything is talking to you. Boiling, sizzling, smelling, all these little things. It's talking. There is another noise in the kitchen. You have to listen to this noise. You have to learn how to listen to this noise. It's a secret. I would say is my secret. Let's put it this way. It's my secret. Maybe for other people it doesn't mean anything, but this is a lot. I used to open the door of my mother and know what I was eating. It's meat sauce. Tonight I have a meat sauce, or tonight I have this and that. The smell, the thing, I go in the kitchen in the morning, in the restaurant to check what they're doing, prepping and everything. And the first things I was go and check if the meat sauce is cooking cover. Because it has to cook for 4 hours cover. Pop, 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 very, very low, slowly, and there, that's it. You cannot go fast, open, doing 2 hours instead of 4. I can tell you, I come, taste it, and say, hey, let's put back in there. Let's put back on the fire. Let's put back in there. I make sure that it's still every day is the food then I know, then I want, and they love.
I think you're the first guest on this show to describe their nose as a clock. Which is interesting. I've never thought about the relationship between smelling and time, but that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
As I was preparing for this, I was enjoying reading the sort of paeans that have been written about your restaurant, and there are many online. One author writing in the Michelin Guide noted, "Going to dinner at a restaurant like this, it feels like an extension of my life, an escape for a few hours from everyday stressors to reconnect and recharge." In his recent number 34 ranking of I Sodi in the New York Times, Pete Wells again, he wrote, "Going there is a little like seeing your favorite movie on the big screen for the first time."
Wow. I never read about us, so I don't know anything was going on there.
You heard it here first. And one last writer, another writer, this was several years ago in Bon Appetit, described I Sodi, and I love this, as a, quote, carb-heavy therapy session. So
that's funny.
I was wondering, like, what experience do you hope diners get at I Sodi? What is the sort of food service atmosphere that you strive for?
Just having a good meal. Come on, come here. I'm trying to don't bother you, let you have your dinner with your guests and, be around you just in case you need me. But just enjoy your dinner. food and table and all is so important. If you're part of your life, you have to eat. You need to eat, and dinner is the best time of the day to talk with somebody about anything, work, love, what happened today, busy day, crazy day, everything. It's that moment where you sit, enjoy yourself, and talk.
Yeah, to be in the company of others.
Yeah.
And I always love that because, and I'm sure there's some connection here, but like the word company actually is like with bread, con pane, which like, I love that. I love this idea that food is this sort of central connector. And in this time of late stage capitalism, we could even think about how interesting that like our connective tissue that brings this whole crazy planet together really starts with bread.
That's true. Yeah. And nobody wants to eat bread anymore now. So that's sad.
True, gluten.
That's sad.
Yeah. I should add here that when you came to New York, you were coming from Bagno a Ripoli in Tuscany.
Bagno a Ripoli, yeah.
Where you lived in a restored 17th century stone villa with gardens, olive groves, and a view of Florence.
Yeah,
or at least the hills.
A little the top of the cupola. Yeah,
that's quite a time difference in more ways than one. Share a little bit more about Bagno a Ripoli. I want to hear kind of...
I live in this, how you say, little villa at the top of this hill where 5 minutes from the Ponte Vecchio, where you can see, how you see the cupola of the Duomo, and the place where I cook a lot of time, and I spend a lot of time with my family, with friends. Jody came, we cook a lot with Jody. She came the bigger time when she came when my mother died, and we did this big dinner together, and it's just good memory. Very good memory. It's the time, going up at the hill, you can find, pheasant or rabbit around. It was like it was the last house of the hill, and the only one, actually. And, the name of the street is Via Carota.
Hence the name of the restaurant.
And it's the name of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Because it's us, It's the part of... our life where we live there and everything. We lived before Via Carota.
It's sort of the restaurant as tribute, as memorial almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. And you sold that place, right? Or
yeah, because I thought I was able to spend some time, but I find out that I was not able to do it. And I didn't want to rent it. Also because I would leave everything, would be like everything mine, and I said no. So I decided to sell it, and I moved, and I put all my furniture and everything, actually the one I loved more, on storage in Florence. And after I moved there in New York, and they stayed in storage for other 8 years. And now they're in a house upstate.
Oh.
Yeah.
And other items came over from Italy and are part of Via Carota, right?
Yeah, the chair of Via Carota used to be in the kitchen of Via Carota. It's weird. And, my mother cutting board with the big hole in the middle with the mezzaluna is hiding there in the dining room, and he's there, he's looking at us. I step inside and I feel home. I don't feel a restaurant. I look at everybody, I look if they eat food, how they eat it, if they do it, why didn't eat it, why everything. But, I make sure that people enjoy it. If they don't eat it, I want to know why they don't eat it. Because maybe it's our fault. Maybe something wrong in us. I want to know. The first sip or the first time that, they taste something, I love to look at the people and see the face. And so I say, okay, they love it. They like it. Or something like that. Make my day.
I love that you described it as home, because I was thinking about this sort of again, I obsess over time on this show. And this isn't to quote Pete Wells again, but he did write this, and it was so beautiful. In 2016, in his first Times review of I Sodi, he wrote, I Sodi seems not to have fully assimilated into the United States. It exists in its own extraterritorial jurisdiction, like the headquarters of the United Nations. To eat there is to abide by the laws of eating that Rita Sodi, the chef and owner, brought with her from the farm north of Florence where she was raised. And I feel like this, quote, extraterritorial jurisdiction has its own sense of time. It's not quite New York, it's not quite Tuscany, but maybe it's home. It's a sense of home.
Yeah, it's a home. It has its own space in the West Village. We treat our place like they are our home. Different rooms, but they all the same. You smell it. What do you smell? What's going on today? Open the window. Close the window. Oh, it's too cold. It's too hot. We never stop. We never stop.
Seasonality we haven't talked about yet, but that is so central to your cooking at I Sodi, at Via Carota, wherever. You're always looking at what are the freshest ingredients. And could you talk about that? Like how you think about the seasonality in the food and how rooted in, I guess, time in the seasonal sense your cooking is.
Yeah, this is a good time to talk about that because we always have a discussion, me and Jody, about when is the time to start to use tomato.
We're in late June right now.
Yeah, so we start today to use tomato, but I was not really agree about it, but the weather, it's calling from them, so it's okay. It's a little bit too early. They are there, but are not perfect. But we arrive at the compromise and we say, okay, let's start today. Today is the first day we do tomato in the restaurant, and we eat tomato because we don't need tomato if they are not in the restaurant. It's the same thing. And so seasonality is, there is a reason why there is different vegetable, different everything seasonally, based on the weather, cold, lot, short day, long day, and everything. So, and your body goes with that. And what you need is growing when you need it, not when you don't need it. Imagine tomato in the winter or November when it's raining. How sad is that? Now you can find everything any time of the year, right? And they can be also good. I'm not saying about quality, but you don't need tomato in November. So you need now. You see a plate of a tomato arriving in your... it's a joy. It's your joy. You smile, right?
Well, and this connects so much to food systems. I mean, I think obviously the farmer's market, that's like the best grocery store we have. But I've always wondered, like, why doesn't a larger grocery store exist where what you get is what's in season, and they're rigorous about saying, sorry, that's not in season. We don't have that right now. I know that goes against a lot of capitalist ideas, but I just think it would be a beautiful thing to have a grocery store where literally it's like, okay, we decided tomatoes are in season. They're available now until they're not.
Until they're not. It depends on how the summer goes.
Yeah.
And how much rain, how much don't rain, and everything. But, you arrive at March, and if you're like a beginning of May, after, several months of gray and, no color, nothing, you have a bright fava beans and asparagus coming up and everything. It's joy,
mm-hmm.
And
ramps.
radish and ramps and all this stuff. After that, it's something that you really enjoy. And next year, you're looking for them. You look for what the season gave it to you because you're so excited to taste this stuff again.
And I think we forget almost as a species, as human beings, where we are in time when we're not paying attention to where our food comes from and when it's fresh. When we're just thinking about, oh, well, it's here, it's in the grocery store, so I should eat it. There's a disconnection.
Yeah, fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know, but...
Yeah. Well, this episode will come out in early September. So what will be top of your mind for food then?
Oh, early September, there's still a lot of tomato, a lot of summer. And it start to be the grapes, it start to be very, very good, almost there, and everything, that's, it's the end of a dry season.
So we sort of touched on this, but I wanted to go back to your upbringing on your family's fattoria or farm. What was life like on the farm? Like, what memories, looking back on it now, stand out to you most about food, about family, about life?
It was a small farm, big family, because we were two family together. My father, brother, we were living together. And so we were like 12 every day,
Big table.
Big table and everything. And my mother and my aunt, they living for us, for the family. The only things they care was taking care of the family. And taking care of the family, one of the most important thing is feed the family. So you have to have breakfast, you have to have lunch, you have to have dinner, you have to have what we call merenda, like around 4 o'clock, 3:30 before dinner, but not too near to dinner because you have to eat at dinner. So it doesn't have to be too near to dinner. So it's I had a lot of rules, a lot of rules. I came to New York with a lot of rules. The joy and everything, you cannot miss a table, you cannot arrive late, you cannot leave the table. Our holiday together, where you spend all day at the table and laughing and making fun of each other, tell story. And I have an animal around. I had like a little pony, and it was just for me.
My Little Pony.
My Little Pony. It was black and white, and his name is Giorgio. It has a big zazer in the front. I was riding him, and that was a big, big memory. We have Camila with him. Then is the cow, where my mother was taking milk every night. The milk, when it comes from it has a cream on top, and it's warm. So first glass of milk and everything, and after the neighborhood was coming, because it was too much for us, just for the family, so it was coming, we were selling, kind of, but they were coming with their bottle, and we were putting the milk. And when we had more eggs than we needed, we offered to the people, living around. And that's happened with everything in the garden. When it's season, everything is okay. We can eat just what we can eat, but if we have too much, we're lucky this year, we have a lot, we will share with the neighborhood. And my mother was coming at that. This is what the garden gives to you tonight. And she was putting the food in there. And the summertime she was making big fry vegetable, like everything, tomato and zucchini and everything she was able to find to fry. And it was great. And big a city together because you have to eat home. I think in my first time I went to the restaurant, I was like 17, something like that. You don't really need to go to the restaurant if you have somebody to cook with you and for you, as my mother used to, right? I say, why I have to go to eat something that is worse than what I eat home? That was the mentality at that time in Italy, also because there was not any other restaurant, it was just Italian food. So you cannot go, like, I'm going for Chinese or I'm going for Japanese. And no way.
Well, in that sense, you kind of grew up being used to serving the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, yeah.
But also having this sense of home and home cooking, which I think you continue to this day. And you've noted that you still compare the dishes you make to your mother's, which is so special to be able to carry that forward and to have actually literally cooked in the very kitchen at the restaurant with her. Could you share a bit what it was like to learn cooking from her? what it was like to be in the kitchen with your mom?
So let's say we were cutting vegetable for the meat sauce or something like that. So no, not too much. No, take care. No, go. It has to be finer. It's okay? No, finer. She was looking at every step, and I was trying to, cut corner, and do stuff. No way. She was on top of everything. I was not able to cheat in any way. She was like, the pasta, she was making handmade pasta every Sunday for lunch, and all the family was coming and sit, and it was like a religious thing to do by hand. So I was helping her and everything, and I was like, Mom, it's okay, it's good enough. And she was like, no, you cannot see through enough. And what about now? No, go. She was like, no way. She won't not let me do anything.
She could smell it wasn't quite.
Yeah. She would smell everything I was doing that was not right.
Are there particular food rituals that stand out to you? Things that were part of your upbringing that you still continue to this day?
Once in a while happen, like for instance, now you have a piece and then you have to take out from the shell and everything. This is a moment when you do this. It's like go and talk with your friend, right? Everybody sit around, take a little bit of them and chat and clean the food, right? Clean the beans and clean the peas. And we were doing the same thing like for Easter. We were doing, for Christmas, we were doing tortellini brodo, like the one you do with the meat inside and you do in your finger. So we will start like a 10 days before, and that's what we put in the freezer because she has to give it to everybody, a bag of tortellini to everybody. So after dinner at night, we were making pasta and we were doing tortellini all around the table and make a tortellini for 10 days. Before Christmas, everything we were doing was making tortellini at night. That is, the rule is the rule.
I was reading that she had these special fried potatoes, too, that she would, soak in water for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Cold water.
Yeah. Yeah, don't touch it. And when they cook, don't turn too much, okay? Otherwise, no, leave it there. Leave it alone. You will know when you had to turn it. Yeah. So it's, all these rules. And now I'm making everybody in the kitchen crazy about this stuff.
Bringing this back to time a little bit, or getting literal with it, in what ways do you think this upbringing, growing up on a family farm, shaped your relationship with time?
I think I'm not really appreciate how much I got from all my childhood. I wish I can tell you and answer you in the right way, but I don't know. But I know it's a lot. Sometimes I do stuff and everything, and I'm like, oh my God, of course I know. I used to do this. I used to see this and everything, so a lot. But I don't know exactly what, how, but it's with me.
Yeah.
It is with me. Sometimes I smell one thing, like now they're cutting the grass and everything. And I'm like, I know the smell. An image come by. I see me, child, with my grandma and everything. My mother was always complaining with her because she was giving too much food to the chicken. They were too fat. They were too fatty. So she was like, give it less food. They don't need all this food. Look how much fat they have. So anyway, just...
Smell sparking a memory.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up fashion here because, aside from the obvious fact that fashion is so omnipresent in Italy, it's such a part of Italian culture in so many ways. When did fashion and textiles become something you were interested in? When did your sort of fashion career period of your life begin? I
started to work in this company that was near to the village I used to live, and they were making jeans, denim. So I started to work there as I was like in the product, but I'm not sure exactly what we were doing. At that time, I was very lucky because at that time, you were making jeans and you will deliver. No wash, nothing. At that time, it was like just jeans, very stiff. And after, we start to wash them. And after, we start the stone wash. In north of Florence, Rimini, on the seaside, there is a lot of laundry. They are very busy there in the summertime, but wintertime, they are not busy. So they start trying to work in washing garment and everything for factory. So we start to do stone wash, and they took the stone from the river and destroy all the machine. So, and after they discover there is a pomice, there is much more abrasion and it's very light. I've been lucky because I learned all the mistake, all the step and everything, and I feel like I was a guru on denim, washing. I knew everything, like come to me and I will tell you everything. I can tell you anything. And that's how I start my career in fashion.
Denim guru turned chef. Do you see a link between fashion and food, and or your work as a producer then and your work as a chef and restaurateur now?
They're both crazy jobs, long hour everywhere, and tough, both tough. But yeah,
fall down, get back up.
Yeah, exactly. That is a very common thing.
Did it cross your mind in your time working in fashion that you would one day potentially leave to work in the way you are today? Like, was being a professional chef or restaurateur ever?
No, absolutely no. Like as I said before, I say one day I will live in New York, but no in this, situation or everything. No, absolutely no.
Yeah. You're working in Italy for Calvin Klein jeans. Calvin Klein is actually located in New York.
In New York, yeah, exactly.
But you come here and you're like, nope, I'm going to be a chef. So what we haven't talked about yet is Commerce Inn, which is this other restaurant Jody and you created, kind of based on a mutual fascination, I would say, with Shaker furniture. Yeah. And then it became a fascination with Shaker cuisine.
Yeah, not really Shaker cuisine, because anyway, Shaker cuisine is farm to table, right? It's pretty simple and with some influence from England, and so it's the Shaker is a simplicity, and we didn't know that until we start to talk about. Then we say, oh, I love that too. Oh yeah, we love it too. But anyway, so Commerce is a special place. Everybody know Grancho. Right? Who didn't have branch at Grancho, right? And I miss that place. And when the lease come up, we say, oh, no, they will never give it to us. But anyway, yeah, let's try. And we got it. And so we start to think about it, and we say, this is American. It's been for a long time, and everything is American. It cannot be Italian, cannot be French. It's American. This is what it is. So, and we decide to challenge ourselves and go for this American restaurant. Yeah.
I don't know that we've said yet, but Jody is a California native.
Jody's California, but she spent 6 years in Italy.
Yeah, right. In Emilia Romagna and Rome.
Yeah, and we have a lot of discussion about that because she's thinking in a different way sometimes, because Rome food and Emilia-Romagna food is different than the one in Florence. It's like, it's Italy. No, it's, every village, every region has its own things, right? And I say, no, we're doing this way. And like, no, we're doing this way. Maybe in Rome, but no in... So we have...
How do you sort of split your... I guess, time together, especially at Via Carota, or I guess Commerce Inn as well. They're both the child of both of you. So it's where she has Bavette, you have I Sodi. These other two restaurants are very much a collaboration. Yeah. Where do you come in and where does she come in? Like, how does that sort of appear?
We feel like we can finish the dish to each other. There is no a moment I come or she come or I leave and she leaves. It's It's pretty natural, and we have our strength and our weakness, so we know each other, and we are very, very different. I'm like everything has to be the same day, same time, same. Jody's like everything has to be completely different every day, every moment, and everything. So we really play very well together. Sometimes not, but that's normal.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this sort of mix of energy, her Californianness and Romanness, and
the energy. Then I'm very calm and very quiet. She's very, very. She's loud, not loud, but she has a voice and everything. And the energy in the kitchen, for sure, when she's there, is different than when I'm there. Yeah.
Before we finish, we have to talk about Negronis.
Okay.
The bar menu at I Sodi has, is it 8 Negroni variations?
More or less. Depends. But yeah, more or less. We took out 1 or 2, I think, for the summertime. But yeah, more or less is that.
And I would say it's safe to say you might also be considered a Negroni guru.
No, I think there is bar attendants that they know much better than me. But I can be a Negroni tasting guru, if that kind of thing existed. No, we have a Negroni since 2008, and at that time there was not too many Negroni around, and a lot of people there come in and say, what is this? And some people try and love it, and some people say, oh, no, can I change it, please? Can I have a Manhattan, please? But, become more popular and popular every year, and now they're kind of everybody more or less knows what a Negroni is.
Yeah, it's certainly caught fire.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think makes a Negroni so special? Like, what to you is the sort of defining factor of the Negroni?
It's the complexity of the drink. You don't taste just one thing. You taste different things. It depends from the beginning to the end. It's fresh, but it's not overrounding. There is alcohol, but it's not too much boozy. Bitter, but not too much. Sweet, but not too much. It's these elements together, they're making it special.
And it really is best with Italian food.
Okay, one other rule that I have is you don't eat with cocktail. Okay, that's in another rule. Okay, you drink a Negroni before dinner, but you have enjoy your dinner with a glass of wine.
I will remember this next time I'm at I Sodi. I might have broken that rule.
Okay, so if you want a Negroni I Sodi, the best way to have a Negroni I Sodi is with fried artichoke. That is the best. Because fried artichoke are not very good with wine because they're pretty strong flavor and took out the worst of the wine, so they're not very, but with Negroni, they're perfect. So if you want to try, you will let me know what you think about.
Well, and this next question makes me cringe a little because I don't like asking the what's your favorite color kind of question, but what's your favorite Negroni?
My favorite Negroni is a Classico. But I'm very moody, so I'll go by season and very thin. Right now I'm in the white. But generally speaking, I mean, the Classico is the Negroni, yeah.
So finally, just to finish, and I wanted to end on a subject we touched on at the beginning or toward the beginning of the interview, which was endurance, or maybe put differently, it's consistency. Of I Sodi, the great food writer Jeff Gordonier has noted that it has, quote, never lost the muted elegance of a Miles Davis trumpet solo. A beautiful sentiment in any case. So I wanted to finish by asking you, what do you make of the sort of consistency, the clarity, the endurance?
Everything is precise. Everything has a recipe that has grams. how much, or a spoon. For instance, if you cut the butter, you cut in little cube, so you know you need 1 cube. Don't put 2. Don't put half. You put 1 cube every day for that dish. You put 1 half spoon of pepper. No 1 full, no 1 half spoon. Okay, I say this. I weigh my coffee every day. I have my sugar because I want to have my coffee. I take 1 coffee a day, and I want to have my best coffee every day. So I cannot just put sugar in coffee, right? One day will be good, one day... so I weigh my coffee every day because I want to have my best experience every day.
It's so funny. It reminds me of something connected to Calvin Klein. And I don't know if you've ever heard this story. This is sort of a funny tangent to end on, but Calvin Klein used to take his coffee specifically by color. It was a Pantone chip color. And he wouldn't drink his coffee unless it was the color of this Pantone chip.
No, I didn't know that. But he was very particular. So he is very particular, yeah. Yeah, he came to Via Carota a year ago or something like that. And Jody was like, goes to say hi. I said, Jody, he will not even recognize me, Go to say hi. So I went to say hi. And as soon as he saw me, jump out and grab me and kiss me and everything, and because I was his denim guru. The Italian denim guru. Yeah.
I think we can end there. Thanks, Rita.
Thank you, Spencer.
Extra thanks to our Season 10 presenting sponsor, L'École School of Jewelry Arts, which is supported by the Maison Van Cleef and Arpels. A unique place for learning online and offline, L'École welcomes the general public to the world of jewelry through courses, talks, exhibitions, videos, books, and its new Voice of Jewels podcast. You can find out more about L'École at www.lecolevancleefarpels.com. That's www.lecolevancleefarpels.com. And thank you for listening. You can find more episodes of Time Sensitive on our website, timesensitive.fm, or wherever you listen to podcasts. To keep up with our latest Time Sensitive episodes and get behind-the-scenes updates, sign up for our newsletter at slowdown.media/newsletter. That's slowdown.media/newsletter. You can follow us on Instagram at slowdown.media. Our theme music was composed by Billy Martin. This episode was produced by Ramon Broza, Emily Jang, Mimi Hannon, Emily McDonald, and Johnny Simon.